Alrighty. Oh, my camera got jostled the last few days. Is that better? Okay, that's good enough. Hey everyone, how we doing this week? Oh boy. So, another week of Battlogue. We have the hack this time around. I see chat talking about a Barbatorus in game. If you do have the video link for that, throw it in my Discord. Oh, someone just messaged me about something. I'll ignore that for now. Okay, so as normal, we're going to take a look at the new welfare, and we're going to take a look at the event shop, then the gacha stuff, whatever's on Twitter, and then alterations. I hate alterations. Alright. So, let's get cracking on this, because... Oh, yeah. So just so you guys are in the loop. As of about mid-last week, I have no idea how it managed to just completely fall under my radar. But a friend of mine recommended a new mobile game to me. I've recommended it to Sukiya as well. I don't know if he's actually installed it to try it or not. Final Gear. I have no clue how I completely whiffed on this one. But so far I'm enjoying it. I started it late Thursday, if I remember correctly. It's a mech game. There's custom suits when you build the whole thing, which I found really cool. If you build the whole suit and get the pilot for it and slap it in, it gets like a custom appearance, animations, all sorts of stuff. I have no idea how I'd never even heard of this game, even what, because it's like 2-3 years old on like the Chinese servers. I have no idea how I never heard of it. So I'm enjoying that a lot. Then we have Fate with its stream tonight, which I'm looking forward to. That's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see what new content they have for the event coming up. And Punishing Grey Raven is getting the Ouroboros event tomorrow as well, which isn't that big of a deal. I'm not a big fan of Chrome, but I am a big fan of the Veritas coding that they're adding, which I already have the RC for. So, yeah. Anyways, now that we're all caught up, let's get going on, well, what we're all here for, I reckon. Hey, Crow. Also gives people time to join and see what's up. Alright, Device A, the hack. Oh, only 4 pieces. Dang. Nice stuff. Ah, nice. Whoever just DM'd me that video, thanks. I might actually play it on stream when we get to the Twitter stuff, because I have yet to even see it. So, anyways. The hack. Against enemy with advantageous attribute. Melee crit rate boosted by 30%. Really easy to get advantageous attribute, as long as you know what you're fighting against. The melee crit rate boost, though, is kind of Crit in this game, not that great, as most of you are probably already aware. It's a good number, at least, at 30%, but as crits, just not good. It's just not really useful at all. Aesthetically, I will say I like the appearance of the hack. It's just, so far, not so impressed. Let's look at the numbers. Okay, we're looking at about 1100-ish melee attack, and we're looking at about 1800 shot. So, as far as welfares go, it's on the overwhelmingly above average side of it, but compared to the more recent welfares we've seen, it's actually kind of midline or below average. As for shot attack, obviously it's not really a shot machine, so it's very low in that regard. Close combat and 4 forest. I'm not the biggest fan of the 4 line of tags. 4 forest is actually really low on that list as well, because it doesn't even activate any good traits to my knowledge. It's purely there as a tertiary booster. Close combat though, flexible, lots of uses for that, so at least has one good tag going for it. Yeah, you can't post links in YouTube chats unless you get explicit permission from the stream host, and that's just to prevent people from, posting spam. So, all right. The torso. Ah, it's a torso with an integrated back. That's why we have so few parts. Armed arms. My arms are armed. B plus power, D Pierce. Alright. Manifest sabers can perform a combo. On paper, this doesn't sound too bad. It's got a low cooldown. It's got B+ power. Solid. However, as it is a melee animation type that talks about performing a combo, it really boils down to what the actual combo animation is. Is it quick? Is it long? Does it have a bunch of slow swings? Is it easy to dodge and whiff? All sorts of little things like that. And that really determines how useful it is when you compare it to what else is available out there. So on paper, okay, you know, it has the numbers, but in practice, it really boils down to the animation proper. Close Combat and 4 Forests return as its tags. Cool beans, I have no real complaints about that. I've already talked about it, saves me time. And as for the stats, this is an integrated torso back part. So we are expecting much higher than normal values on here, which we definitely see, especially in the melee defense. Wow, no one says 4K melee defense before marks. That's a lot of defense. So carrying that over, we're looking at about what? It's like 12, right? Yeah, we're looking at like almost 3,700 melee attack on the torso back integrated part. For a welfare, that's really, really good. I have no complaints about this part numerically. Do keep in mind though, as it is an integrated part, there is some downsides to it. The biggest one being, if you decide to upgrade this part into a 6-star and you expect to backslot onto it, because that's what you get for when you 6-star it, you're going to be losing an entire trait slot in the back, or in the torso, arguably. It's just the way that it works when you're sub-slotting. As this is a really good number-wise part, you're actually best putting this in the back slot, because you can put integrated parts in the back slot and it doesn't overwrite any of the other slots, traits, or EX skills. So it's really up to you. Honestly, I don't think it really matters that much, because we all have overinflated stats anyways, and most of this game's content is kind of sleeper. But if you're looking at absolutely min-max, you probably want to stay away from integrated parts being your frontmost parts, just to keep all the extra trait slots or EX slots open. Alright, arms. The things that should actually have big melee. Beam Barrier. Okay, it has a awakening cooldown here, 12 seconds. Raise your shot defense by 29%, raise your beam and physical resist by 29%. So it's a purely defensive awakening, makes sense, a beam barrier. Close Combat 4 Forest tags come back again. Alright. Statistically, 3,600 or so melee attack, really good for a welfare. That's solid numbers. And yeah, it actually has a decent shot attack. We're looking at what, 1,200, 1,300 shot. Alright. Honestly, statistically, these arms are really, really good. The tags, one of them is workable, one of them I'm not a big fan of. I don't think the EX skill is really that useful, all things considered. Canonically, sure, makes sense, but in game and in practice, if it at least boosted like your entire party, like your party's resistances and defense, okay, but it's only yours, so yeah, it is truly an easy bingo this week. Because you only have to cap out 4 parts. That's sleeper mode. Hands down, you're going to be coming out on top in terms of resource gain. Alright, legs. When attacking with a beam, EX skill piercing boosted by 28%. EX skill piercing is effectively how much of the enemy defense and resistance your EX is going to ignore. A 28% boost is rather meaty. You're going to see the most results from this if you use it on something with low pierce, so something that has like, S power and D pierce. You're going to see a huge boost in damage from something like this. But if all your EX skills are A+ pierce, A+ power, this really won't yield that much for you. Close Combat 4 Forest tags didn't change at all through this suit, which I think is actually kind of surprising, all things considered. Statistically, about 1,500 melee attack for a pair of legs, that's really good. Do keep in mind, the backpack and the legs are typically the lowest defensively statted, and stats in general for the suit, so seeing it clearly in like a decent stat bracket, hey, that's cool for me. About 500, 600 shot attack, token amounts, doesn't matter. The melee is really good on this for a welfare. Cool beans. The trait is really a mileage may vary thing. It purely depends on your loadout. As it doesn't have alterations, obviously you're going to be losing a whole trait from this. But for new players, this could be good depending on the EX skills you use. Alright. What are our green plugs? Physical, normal, and attribute. Okay, cool. And what's under our awakening fragments? Close combat, Zaku type, ace exclusive, amphibious, and 4 urban. Okay. Nice selection. So what are our welfares? No, not welfares. What are our exchange suits this week? We have the Arios, the Exia, and the Build Burning. Now, unless I'm mistaken, the Exia technique is the one that has the yeet on the legs. Should be this one. Remind me if I'm wrong. Okay, and while you guys are doing that, I'm going to hop on over to the Gacha, because that's going to take a hot minute to load anyways. Oh, is that the big Exia, the technique? Cool. S Exia is yeet. Yeah, I knew one of the Exias is yeet, one of them is big. I couldn't remember which is which. If it's just the big Exia, I can't really think, like, between the Arios, the Build Burning, and the big Exia, which one's really, like, good to draw from. If you kind of don't have any preference on them, I'd say arguably the big Exia, just because when you backslot a big part, you get a huge stat bonus. Gun has ICD on it. Better than nothing. Alright, so what do we got? We have our Goof Crimson Custom and the Astray Red Frame Inversion. Yeah, man, Sukiya was going ape over that, which I'm not that surprised. He is a resident Astray nerd. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Goof Crimson Custom. Now, these are standard banners. In case you don't know what that means, you're new or you're just not paying attention, TLDR, after 4 weeks have passed, all of the parts from these suits will be available in the 4-star pick exchange ticket pool. So you don't have to roll this banner unless you want these things now. If you just want them because you really like the suit or they look cool, you can wait a few weeks and you don't have to roll any gacha. If you need them right now for the event or otherwise, sure, go for it. Whatever. Don't let anyone stop you. Okay. Anyways, Goof Crimson Custom. Yeah, it's been a real while since we had 2 standards. Typically, they just add like the 1 standard, and then they give us the 2 Sokai or festivals. This is neat. I actually really wish that they would bring back the 3 stars in the gacha, just because like that was just. I guess I'm just used to it from playing all the other like mobile games and stuff. Having a new gacha every week with just 4 stars in it feels weird, you know? Will they be worth it for the ribbons fragments? That's a really good question to ask. Is rolling on this banner even worth it if you're going for the ribbon stuff? I would honestly say no. They're standard suits, but we'll see. Anyways, Goof Crimson Custom Noggin. When attacking with physical, melee power boosted by 30%. Honestly, this is something we would normally see from a Sokai part. I have no problems with this. Good trait. Solid trait. Tags. Xeon and 4 Urban Area. Xeon's a very interesting tag to see. Makes sense. You know, granted, it's a goof. You know, it kind of belongs. But I mean, in general, seeing a Xeon tag isn't the most common thing in this, which makes me really sad because we need more mono eyes. 4 Urban Area. Also, still not a fan of the 4 tags. Hasn't changed in the last, 10 minutes of me talking. But at least it's 4 Urban. Unless I'm mistaken, that at least has a 1 trait that it activates. So, could be worse. Could be 4 Forest. Statistically, wow, we have no armor. Don't get hit. So we're looking at about 3,600 shot attack or so and about 1,500 melee. So as far as stats go, it has okay attack, right? It doesn't have Sokai or Battle Festival tier numbers behind it, but that's to be expected. It's a standard suit. But looking at purely into the veil of this is a standard part, the shot attack is a little on the low end, and the melee attack is actually, unless I'm mistaken, outclassed by last week's welfare. So this is a very interesting kind of location to be at for a suit. So yeah, the trait's really good. The tags, at least one of them is workable. The stats are, they're not terrible, but they're not great. Torso. With speed attribute, enemy EX skill power reduced by 30%. Okay, so do keep in mind that these types of traits only affect the suit the part is equipped onto, not to everyone else on your squad, so this limited usage. Again, could be worse, but still not great. Xeon for urban area, I've already talked about these tags, we'll pass on those. Statistically, backpack and legs are typically the lowest. We've seen a recent trend of torso parts starting to see above 1k native stats. So looking at this suit, we're seeing that trend carry on. The torso seems to be a real powerhouse for numbers, first glance. So let's see here, we got what, about 9 carryover, 24, so 2500 melee attack on this torso, which is bonkers when you think about it, especially considering a lot of these numbers are in defense. And the reason that's a really big deal is when you add in the marks to it and really buff it up, not only does its already hefty melee attack get a good boost going up to 3000, but those really high defensive values then also carry over the extra into those stats as well, and it all feeds into each other. This is kind of one of those things where when you run a suit that has a really high defensive value and an okay, you know, like a medium high offensive value, it emerges into a really powerful suit that has the defense and the offense you need. It's not going to be super specialized, but you'll get a lot of numbers out of it. And what I'm seeing here is the same deal. We have a crazy amount of melee attack, a very healthy amount of shot attack. We're pushing, what, 1400-ish or so on a torso, of all things. So, nice. Numerically, the torso is really solid. The trait, not that great. Tags, I think, could be better, but thematically makes sense. If they had taken the trait from the head and put it on this torso, this would have been one hell of a part. Unfortunately. Hello, Alan. Welcome to the fun. All right, the Goof Crimson Custom Arms. Heat Rod. Execute a combo with your whip. Low cooldown, A Pierce C power. Go away, you're terrible. Xeon Close Combat. All right, we got rid of the 4 tag and replaced it with Close Combat. Aces. All right, 2 nice tertiaries. One of them obviously much better than the other, but 2 good tertiaries nonetheless. Numerically, so we see another part that has Zippo armor. Interesting choice. Offensively, okay, so we got 5400 or so melee attack on this. Solid numbers for a set of non-limited arms. Shot attack, more or less token, it's like 1300 or so, around there, whatever. So the EX skills a wash, the tags definitely workable, tertiaries. Offensively, good. General stat distribution's weird with the almost no no armor and no resistance values on this. Makes it a really weird part. Yeah, could be worse, but honestly, it's not that bad. It's like a gorilla pretty much. It can smack things around and crush them, but, you know, just don't let anything get close. Legs. Okay. Token art. This suit has like no... This is a paper mache suit, but I'm okay with that. Alright. Offensively, we're looking at about 2400 or so melee attack, around there. Pair of legs is pretty good. And about 1300 or so shot. Cool. Infighter job, EX skill power boosted by 30%. Good traits. Xeon close. Honestly, it's a pretty solid pair of legs. Good trait. Workable tertiary tags. Good stat line. A little on the, no armor side, but don't get hit. Dang. Alright, what do we got backpack-wise? When squad has all attributes, melee power boosted by 35%. Alright, so I guess we're going to start seeing the trend of the base 30% cramped up to 35. Not sure how to feel about that one. Very easy to have all attributes, not just speed, power, technique. Whether or not that's viable to run depends on the content you're doing, but you do get a hefty melee power boost out of it. Statistically, this is more or less the exact same as more or less the exact same as the legs. So, alright. And tag-wise, honestly, backpack and legs for this suit are looking pretty fire. Cool. Alright, let's look at our Heat Sword. Okay. That's what, a 10-2? 10-4. For a non-alterable part in the standard pool, that's actually really high in terms of offensive values. Nice. Infighter job, melee crit rate boost, who cares? Xant close combat, workable tertiaries. Alright. Honestly, so the first few parts were kind of a letdown. Torso was pretty decent, the rest was kind of a letdown. But then we get to the latter half of the suit, and we're kind of picking up. Alright, what else we got here? Let's look at your whip. Not the one I wanted to click. Weapon reload speed down 10%, melee power boosted by 30%. Cool. Weapon reload speed refers to your primary ranged weapon and how quickly it takes to reload. If you don't mind taking it 10% more to reload, honestly, that's like negligible at best, like half a second maybe. You get a hefty melee power boost. That's a worth it trade-off for a melee suit. Xant 4 urban area, so we get rid of the close combat tag and we bring in 4 urban. Not a big fan of that choice. Much prefer close combat. Numerically, it's the same as the previous weapon. That's a very interesting kind of wombo going on here, you know? The sword had a really mediocre trait with the melee crit boost, and then the heat rod has a really nice trait with the melee power boost. Cool beans. And lastly, the Gatling shield, an integrated part. So as it is integrated, gonna have higher stats than normal. Yeah, whip melee weapons are starting to become a little more on the rare side, so it's interesting to see them kind of crack it out now. Saber, boomerang, slash with your saber, then hurl it point first. We've seen a lot of these skills starting to pop up. It's a very soft replacement for a normal yeet skill, only because with a yeet skill, all the damage is put into that single attack. With these kind of skills, the damage is split among multiple parts of the attack, and it's not obviously an instant yeet, as you have to do stuff before you throw the weapon. So these are like I said, a soft yeet. You still throw something at the end of the day, it's just nerfed in all aspects. Takes way longer to come out than a normal yeet, does less damage than a normal yeet would, because you're splitting the damage among different parts of the animation. Alright. Statistically, we are expecting higher than normal values due to the integration. Okay, so we're looking at 4,500 shot attack, which isn't terrible. Melee wise, we're looking at about 3,000, 3,100. For a gun/shield combo, that's really on the high side. And again, this is one of those things where a lot of the stats are being pulled over from the defensive values, which definitely, comes from it being a part shield. They're going to have some really good numbers on this when you crank it all the way up. But like I said before, the downside with integrated parts is you do lose that extra trait or EX skill slot when you're doing your 6-star sub-slotting. So You're trading a little bit for that. Arranged with the melee EX is weird. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, that EX skill is coming from the shield more so than the gun. Xeon for urban area tags. Not a fan of 4 urban. Xeon's still there. Statistically, this is a pretty decent part for the pool it's in. The EX skills, it's workable, and the tags are workable tertiary as well. It's okay. Okay. So, with that, let's take a look at our red frame inversion. And in case anyone's wondering what I'm drinking, I have a can of ginger ale. Oh, just a little. Ginger ale. And the good stuff. I'm pre-prepping for anything crazy I see. Alright. Back to what we were looking at. Oh, the Eagle Stellan. Ha ha ha. D minus Pierce, D power. Go away. No one wants you. No one ever wants Eagle Stellans. Let's be real. Gundam type for Desert. Gundam type, very powerful tertiary tag, activates a lot of traits from different parts across the game. For Desert, not so much. Workable tertiary, not that great. Numerically, we're looking at about 4,800 or so shot attack, which is pretty solid, all things considered. You know, it is kind of more of a shot-centric head. Melee-wise, a little more than token. We're looking at about 1,400 or so melee. Honestly, solid head for not being a limited. Yeah, I can't wait for them to add like an SS Vulcan, you know, S Pierce, S Power, and it's just dominating. And of course, it's going to belong to a weird mutant suit from Gundam Seed or something because of the fanboyism. On that note, when the hell are we getting another Lacus? We got a Lacus, like, within a few months of the game's launch, and we've never seen another version of Lacus. No, they gave us, like, the worst version of Lacus, too. They gave us, like, the Fresh on the Eternal Lacus, which I guess isn't the worst, but they picked a pretty bad piece of art, in my opinion, for her. Can we get a good Lacus? Can we get a build project Lacus? How do you think of the head look-wise? Overall, the red frame inversion... If we're being straight, okay, if we're being straight about my preferences on color palettes, I find that the black with red accent or vice versa motif is way too overused. I understand why it's there. I understand why it exists. I understand the draw and the appeal of it. Personally, I hate the color palette because it's so overused across everything. All sorts of different medias use it. All these games will use the same color palette to deny. It's just, I get it. I understand. I just don't like it. I feel like I'm just way too exposed to it. And that's why I try to go with more brighter colors most of the time for my suits, with the exception of the red color palette Kshatriya, because I was going for the Sinanju color palette or Ribawu color palette onto the Kshatriya specifically, right? Trying to copy those color channels over so that it worked. But outside of that, I try to go with like the white and yellow color scheme, the pre-baked one, because I don't have to do any effort. Or I try to go for the more brighter stuff, just because I find that the dark black and red is just so overused. If it's your taste, it's your taste, right? That's a very subjective thing. Just for me, I find it's really overused. So aesthetically, this is just another Astray head, right? One of the like 20 we have in the game now. So another one's not really a big deal. The specific color palette for the red frame inversion, I don't really like because I find it's just oversaturated, pretty much. We got Mir, she counts as a fake Lacus. You know, if this didn't have my drink in it and you were here, this would be on your skull right now. Don't you dare compare the two of them together. I'll shake my fist at you for that. It's the best I can do right now. Imagine trying to compare that poser. Shame on you. Shame on you. Alright. Anyways, back to what we were doing here. The head, statistically nice. EX skills a waste. Tags are workable. It doesn't matter if you said fake Lacus. You're trying to say we got Mir. Not allowed. No. I refuse. Yeah. You know, if I'm calling it right now, guys. I'm putting my cards on the table. I wish I had a deck of cards to do the bit. But if they put a build project Mir into this game before I get another like version of Lacus, I'm done. I'm just uninstalling the game. We finished, boys. I ain't taking that kind of abuse. I ain't taking it. First, they make my custom map give people capital when I'm the one that keeps talking about how much we don't need any more capital, and then they throw build project Mir at us. That's like direct backhand to my face. I ain't gonna take that. Yeah, we've had what? 2 versions of Ezak. We've had, I think we got a second version of Atherin. I'm pretty sure we did. I know we've had multiple Gundam Seed pilots come around for round 2 now with like a second form. And in general, pilots from other series, right? Mikazuki, how many Shars are we going to get before the game devs are satisfied? Right? All this. So I know that there's going to be another Lacus somewhere. I don't know when. Don't know how I'm going to have to get it, but eventually, right? And do keep in mind, the only things I'm really saving my Haro for are the Amaterasu and another Lacus. And I guess now the Barbataurus, considering how much I like its general appearance. And the fact it's unique, it's got 4 legs. That's kind of new. I'll tell you right now, guys, if they put a Baku into this game and actually gave it unique animations and just like recycle some like the tank treads or anything, I would probably get the entire thing if it's like a premium through whaling or not through the exchange, just because I like the unique suits. That's kind of what the Barbataurus is to me, right? It's like, hey, look, I got 4 legs and 2 arms. It's like, hey, that's unique. I like that. I'll collect you. Although I'm kind of like, do I roll for the Sokai that's inevitably going to happen with it? Or do I wait for the welfare version to come out like every other Battlogue suit has had? I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Oh, Maru Ramius would be really cool to get as well. And Nataro. Just like iconic. Yo, can we get Cuzzy? Dude, a Cuzzy pilot? Because we got Sai, right? Who the hell cares about Sai? Give us Cuzzy. You know, it's weird, right? I'm sorry for going on a huge tangent with this. I know you guys mostly come to, see what I talk about with these suits. Sorry to go on a tangent with this. I find it so weird that when I go online and I look for merchandise for Lacus, there's very little available still. You have that one really nice bust of her, in her songstress outfit. There's a couple of Figma for her, one of them in her in the opera outfit, and one of them in her general songstress outfit. There's like very little available like merch-wise for Lacus. And the one form they put into this game is one that there's really not any merch for. Barbataurus is going to be a build project. Ooh. Oh, God, savage. At that point, I would definitely wait for the welfare variant to come out. There's no way I'm build projecting a Barbataurus. Not this close to New Year's. On that note, I really need to start like getting some more Haro chips. I only have, so I've been so busy the last few weeks in between work and juggling other stuff IRL. I've had very little time to really commit to like just playing the as much mobile games. Like Tales of Luminaria came out. I want to sit down and binge it. I want to play all those story chapters. I want to enjoy it, and I haven't been able to, and it's driving me nuts, right? Even this, I haven't had a ton of time to play it, so my Haro stash hasn't really exploded like it normally does. I should be at like 30k or something right now, but I'm still down at like 15, 16k because I haven't been able to dump the hours I need into the game to get all the free currency stuff. Kills me, man. Do we have a Talia build pilot? That'd be an interesting pilot to see show up. Imagine having oh, I'm sorry, Mana. You know, I keep using my Haro on cool stuff, so sue me. No, Talia hasn't been added yet. Surprisingly, we haven't even seen Durandal. Not even Patrick. Like, there's so many... Patrick Zala, mind you, not Space Cockroach Patrick. There's so many good characters from Seed and Destiny that still haven't been added, which is fine. You know, there's so many series to work with. But, you know, like, give us Rusty, you know, give us any of these pilots from the series that aren't like ultra well known, or the ones that are well known. Give us good versions of them. So far, the only good Seed pilot we have is Build Project Kira. It's the only good one we have, and he's been outclassed now by other Build Project pilots as of the marks. So it's like, come on, play ball. What do you mean crippled Mikazuki? We already got crippled Mikazuki, the one with all the blood everywhere. That's crippled, right? For Gundam, when you bleed, you're crippled. Yeah, we also had the Build Project Stella Civilian, who was also good until the marks came out. But Build Project Kira was the best for shot, right? That's kind of the thing. He was like the best. And then he got dethroned, but he was still really good. And then marks came out, he just kept getting pushed down. Same with Stella. She was really good, then kind of got pushed down, and then just marks completely shoved her out. And it's just the way that stat distribution worked, which is nothing, you know, we couldn't have seen it at the time, right? Because we didn't know that they were going to add marks suddenly like that to pilots, or how we were going to have to unlock more slots for the marks. If we were able to just mark them like we were normal parts, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But because you have to raise the trait level of pilots in order to put more marks on them, that immediately puts like a tier list on what you need to prioritize. Because all of a sudden, you know, it's all kind of a giant self-feeding cycle. We need Mika with all the Shrap. How about we just get like seconds before death Mika variant, you know? He's got the bloodshot eyes, blood everywhere, hole in the center of his suit. He's just coughing up blood. His melee, he only has melee, no other stats, just 9,000 melee out of the box. Like 0 across the board, but melee is just 9,000 or 9,999. That's Mika before death version. And then they screw him up by making his trait a guts. Oh, that's good. Alright, anyways, back to this. The Astray red frame inversion torso. Infighter, revive a 50% armor one time. So this is a guts skill. At least it's not a, you know, you have a chance to revive thing. It's a guaranteed revive, but honestly, if you're dying, I don't know what to say. That's pretty much it. Gundam type, 4 desert, workable tags, much like the head, stat-wise. Okay. So we're looking at about 1,800, 1,900 shot attack or so. We're looking at about 2200 or so melee. For torso, non-limited, solid numbers, good stuff to see. The trade's kind of a letdown. The tags, workable. Revives are a thing in Master Arena. Toss that on to defenders. Okay, yeah, sure. I kind of roll back to what I was saying like earlier in the year. I don't want to turn these videos, like these streams, into just looking at the top 1% of players, because the overwhelming majority of them will never care about, you know, ranking high in arena, you know, doing the hardest content in the game, getting to the, you know, the max level battle circuits, right? Totally respect the people that do that. Power to you. But the overwhelming majority of players just, they're not there. They got other stuff to do. Could someone make an unkillable suit with Guts Revive? So, technically, if you stacked enough revive chance parts, you could probably get away with it. But you could, like, you know, revive one time with whatever amount, you'd eventually run out of lives, or you'd be the cat with 8 lives, because that's the maximum amount of parts you could have with that trait on it. But you could probably get away with it. I think most of the whales moved on. I don't know if I would say the whales have moved on. More like the whales aren't playing it as actively anymore, and most likely are just collecting. Because there's not a lot of drive to continuously progress and get new suits and upgrade, because there's no content that pressures us to get anywhere near using this kind of stuff, right? Now, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, if you look at other games that are in the market right now, right, when you release a powerful character, you run a really high risk of trivializing your content. Simultaneously, if you make the content difficult to compensate for this new character, then you're kind of railroading people into needing that character, which can really stir up, you know, not goodwill. So to put some things into perspective with that, for one, I believe I talked about it last week, Tales of Luminaria. I like what they've done in balancing the content in terms of difficulty. The story content that they release week to week, you can complete at your leisure whenever you want to. There's a bunch of gacha currency behind completing it, so it's kind of a do as you will. Because that content scales with whatever characters you're running power, you don't have to worry about rolling the gacha. You don't have to worry about being cutting edge competitive to just play the game and enjoy it. On the flip side, if you ever feel like taking a challenge, they offer the secret missions that require good gameplay knowledge. They require the number with the gear. You have the raids, which again require you to play a lot of them, to grind, to have high power, to, you know, do that. And they kind of give you the best of both worlds. If you're a casual player, you don't have to worry about the gacha, you can play at your own pace. But if you're a player that really cares about your numbers and the gacha, you can absolutely do that and still see benefits from it, because you can surpass other players, because you can complete content they're not able to do. You can complete stuff quicker than they're able to, all these things. And I like that. The execution is a little bit on the stumbling side, but the idea is there, and I like it a lot. Because this is coming from someone that's played a bunch of other mobile games, right? You look at Azure Lane. You are hard gated in progress with that game. You have to grind. At one point, you are forced to grind to progress. At one point, you will be hard walled. It's a collector though, so it's not that big of a deal, because you can still get the gacha currency. You can still easily roll the gacha for raid ups and stuff. You just won't have access to the most efficient maps. You won't have access to all of the materials you need for your ships to level them up, whatever, right? You look at, same with Girls Frontline, same concept there. You look at Arc Knights, again, right? You're forced to roll new characters because the content they add becomes so trivialized with these characters. Granted, you have to invest in them and work on them, but they do. I'm not going to say they don't hard railroad you into needing new characters, because a lot of the content is clearable with not like super high-end characters or super rare limited characters, but it makes it much easier on you, right? You look at Fate Grand Order, Same concept there. You don't need the SSRs. You don't even need SRs. You can beat the game with stuff you can get from the friend point gacha. Does it make your life easier to roll the gacha? Absolutely. No one can argue that fact. Right? But you look at this, right? It doesn't matter if right now, you could actually complete the game with almost any welfare that's come out since the Super Sokais. Because the stat distribution is so ridiculously high on this new wave of suits, and the content hasn't been scaled to accommodate for that. So if you went back, for example, the Cubilee, right, the one that had the bug with the marks, if you went back, got that suit, got trait or EX skill 10 on every single part, and you just mono-suited that with marks on it, you would steamroll the entire story just due to numbers alone. Most of the free missions you could steamroll due to the numbers alone. You're not going to be able to rank ultra high in the arenas. You're not going to be able to get 30 laps on, or 20 laps, whatever, on Battle Circuit, but that's fine, right? Unless you're super hardcore, that doesn't matter. But all it comes down to is just like, hey, look, the Baku head. Nice. End of the day, all it really comes down to is, with this game right now, there's no incentive for people to keep rolling, to keep updated, keep cutting edge or bleeding edge with content that new units, because there's nothing that challenges us. It's now turned into a collector style game like Azure Lane, like Girls Frontline, but the bar to entry to farm enough currency to reasonably obtain this new content is so high that it can dissuade a lot of people from wanting to participate in doing it. Right? There's no real hard pity system. The Haro currency, although it can be generously handed out, can still be difficult to amass a good amount of event to event, especially depending on what your interests are. It's just a whole bunch of little things, pretty much is what it all boils down to. And once they add content that actually pushes the top 1% of players, once they actually make stuff in this game that isn't PvP, that makes these 1% players go, all right, I need to sit down and think about this, then we'll probably see a big resurgence of people coming back, because all of a sudden their 120,000 power suit, or the 120,000 melee power suit, has a purpose, right? Anyways. So, back to what we were on here. We just looked at the torso. Let's look at the arms. Bada bing, bada boom. Lightning Ball. B plus power, D pierce. Low cooldown. Charge arms with beam energy, then attack with a rush. Reduce enemies' physical resist by 29%. Are you a Pikachu or something? Interesting sounding skill. I'll have to see the animation to whether or not it's actually good. Gundam type, high mobility. Alright, we got the high mobility tertiary. There we go. 2 amazing tertiary tags, no problems. Statistically, what are we looking at here? We're looking at about 5,300 melee attack. Solid numbers to see on non-limited arms. Shot attack, not that bad. We're looking at 1,600, 1,650 or so. Again, non-limited. Good stuff. Overall, I'll have to see the animation, but looks okay. Legs, bisect, heal, and melee attack raise. Isn't this the normal bisect? Isn't this literally just red frame bisect? Gundam type, high mobility. Statistically, 2,000 or so melee attack and about 1,500 shot. Pair of legs, solid numbers. Worst bisect since no alter. Yeah. I like, these legs are pretty much a direct upgrade to the normal red frame legs, just numerically. So once it gets an alteration, this will probably blow the old ones out of the water. Just power creep. Good pair of legs. Like, it's literally the base red frame legs that we got at launch. Just no alteration. But once it gets Alteration, why would you run the normal red frame? Like, well, other than you probably already have it in 99 completely maxed out because it's been in the game for so long. But why would you run it when you have the alternative? The backpack, the ale pack. Nice, nice, nice. With technique attribute, melee power boosted by 30%. Very easy to activate technique, solid melee power boost. Dope. Nice tertiaries, and statistically, we're looking at about 2300 melee attack, solid numbers for a backpack, and we're looking at about 1450 shot. Nice. No complaints, the backpack's pretty solid. Let's look at that Baku head. Oh man, I kind of want to get this just for the fact that it's a Baku head. There's another red frame that has bisect, alteration, high melee. Can't remember the name. This really requires a thinking cap. Yeah, the thing is though, this suit, just due to power creep, just has a higher general base stat line to it. So, overall, if you got this entire suit, applied the base red frames color palette to it, he had the same thing, but better. We have a Baku head, but no Baku. Yeah, I know, right? It's like we took its head, ripped it off, threw the body to the side. We ain't animating this shit. We'll take the head, though. Alright. When in multi-mission, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. This is another one of those very niche use parts for the obvious reason of multi-mission sortie only. But if you are running a multi-mission, the 20% EX skill cooldown is a very solid trait to have. Of course, there are general EX skill cooldown reductions that don't need you to be in a multi-mission, but at least it's an easy trigger to meet. Nice tertiary tags, and statistically, it's a solid non-limited weapon. The Gerbera Straight. Gerber, 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 gerber. Unleash a barrage of attacks with your blade. A plus Pierce D power. Ooh. Wow, one of the few times you didn't want to see it give the D. Gundam type for Desert. I don't like they got rid of that really nice high mobility tertiary, but here we are, is what it is. Statistically same as the previous weapon. That's kind of, that's a shame. Alright, and the anti-beam shield with technique attribute melee crit rate boost. Gundam type, high mobility comes back numerically. Hey, alright, we're looking at 2100 melee attack and about 1000 or so shot. Solid numbers. Alright. So, very interesting suits here in the standard pool. Now, if you're someone that has rolled all of the Reborn stuff up to this point, you're most likely better off rolling on the red frame Inversion versus the Goof. It's kind of a toss-up, though, because both of them are equally mediocre, you know? Yeah. They're both like okay. Neither of them are like jaw-droppingly amazing. But I would say between the two of them, the Astray Inversion at least has some good stuff going for it, like a higher base stat line and tried, tested, and true EX skills, pretty much, you know? Both are red and go fast. Fair. Or you can wait till Thursday. I guess that is a valid choice. Alright, Oliver May, let's take a look at our pilots. We have a long shooter. We have actually a decent amount of shot attack. We're almost at 1900 on this guy after carryovers. Xeon 4 space tags. Don't like the 4 space, but Xeon's on point. With space attribute, EX skill, or with speed attribute, EX skill cooldown reduced by 15%. Alright. Not the highest multiplier we've ever seen, but this is a base 3-star pilot. Statistically, almost approaching 2K, really high for a 3-star pilot. This dude shames a bunch of 4-star pilots by existing. Is he amazing? No. Is he good? For a 3-star. Kentaro Mahara. Why does he look like a really crappy antagonist? Whatever. You think we're going to get Barbitars for the final episode of Battlogue? Look, if we're going to be on the straight here, there's no way Barbitars is not being added to this game. It's a matter of when. Are they going to hold it for New Year's? Maybe. Are they going to hold it for Christmas? Maybe. Are they going to not and put it with the last episode? Maybe. Who the hell knows? We're in a really weird part of the season right now where anything is possible just because we don't know what they have planned for Christmas and New Year's. If they have some crazy moneymaker lined up, we'll probably see Barbitars before then to do the double tap milk. But if they don't have anything planned for Christmas or New Year's, this may be their golden ticket. We don't know. They already showed it off on today's episode running on the battlefield. The next Sokai is Barbitars and Double O. How do you know that, Riser? With technique attribute, EX skill cooldown reduced by 20%. Solid. Easy to activate technique. Cooldown reduction is always appreciated. High firepower for computers. 50%. And statistically, alright, interesting stat spread. About 2,500 or so melee attack on an infighter, which confuses me considering his shot attack is so much higher due to the carryover. Well, not so much, but relatively higher. Like 27, 2,800 on shot attack. So as far as non-build project pilots go, he's pretty damn good. Interesting. Yeah, I have no idea why Riser thinks that the next Sokai is going to be those two. Very interesting take. But if he's got proof, he's got proof. I ain't going to sit here and argue it. I need to see the proof. All right. So before we hop into the alterations, we're going to take a look at the Twitter stuff as well as the Gundam Barbitaris, that short clip they have. The thing is, right, they've shown off the Barbitaris in-game in this short clip. But unless they tell us when it's coming out in that clip, could be anything. Don't forget, they've had suits in this game for a really long time now that still haven't actually been released yet. So, yeah. Like, I should be able to talk about this. I should be able to, because everything's already been released. So this was at the, I think it was beginning of this year. Let me check real quick. I'm just checking a timestamp really quick here because I just want to bring up a point to you guys here. Boy, there he is. I was only talking to him a few days ago. I believe. Okay. So it was earlier this year. Anyways, so a user had DM'd me a rather hefty data mine of the game. I didn't do a video on it. I sat on it. I wanted to do a video on it, but decided I probably shouldn't. In this data mine were a lot of suits. This may have actually been last year now I'm thinking about it. But anyways, in this data mine, there were suits like the Atlas, we had there was information about the new multi-mission that hadn't been released yet. All sorts of stuff. And there was box art, there was all sorts of things for all the content, right? All the stuff's already been released, mind you. I'm not talking about stuff that hasn't been released yet. This is all stuff that was released. That's why I feel like it's okay to talk about it now. And all of this stuff was sitting in the game for months and months and months and months before it actually got released and people could use it. So just because they're showing us the models and the animations of something in the game doesn't mean it's anywhere near actually going to be out, right? They could release it on Thursday. They could release it this weekend as a surprise banner. They may not release it until February of next year. So I would take anything that comes from this game with a grain of salt until it becomes actual like banner material. Only because there is, at least on my end, empirical proof that stuff's been added to this game and not actually released to the players for a significant amount of time. So I get what you mean. It's there. You know, you got the Barbataurus, you got the animations, you got the model. It's probably ready to go. But for example, how long do you guys think the Helios was sitting around in game for them testing, right? With its model and everything done, with all those bugged parts that we had available, all those animations that we're never probably going to see, right? So just throwing that out there, you know, just grain of salt it. Yeah, Riser, I'm not saying that there's no way the Barbataurus is going to be Sokai. I'm not saying there's no way the dog... It's just because they released a video of it showing it off doesn't mean it's coming next week or even this month. They could have the stuff done and just be showing it off to build hype for it, especially considering, you know, if the Barbataurus has recently shown up in the Battlogue, they really want to build off the hype for this. That's why we're having 5 Battlogue collaboration events in a row, effectively. What do you think of the recent Gundam episodes? Look, Matt, I love mecha, and I get a dose of mecha. You're not going to see me complain about that. From what I've seen, the animation quality is really good. A few hiccups, but nothing glaringly major. Right? It's not like High Guardian Spice. Overall, it's a very enjoyable experience so far. I'm enjoying seeing all the suits. I'm enjoying the character interactions and everything. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Have you seen the UC Engage game? Will you try it if they bring it over to the West? UC Engage. Let me double check. That sounds familiar. If this is what I think it is, then heck yeah. Right, that's what I remember seeing it from. So, for anyone that hasn't seen the trailer yet, I'm going to bring it up here real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about as I do this, so you're not just seeing me discuss something you can't see, because that's no fun for anyone. Okay. So let me just change the resolution here a little bit so you guys can actually see the whole thing with me. Oi! What are you doing? There we go. So, it sounds off for reasons. But anyways, so these pre-baked 3D animations look really good, right? I have no problem with it. But then I see this, right? And it looks interesting. The problem that I have with these types of games is when I see a mecha game, what I want from it, right? As much as I totally respect like the tactical and the RPG genres and stuff, like all those things, when I look at a mech game, I want something action. I want something that keeps me engaged the whole time I'm playing it, right? That's why when I look at this game, GBM, right? Although it does have an auto mode, you're engaged the whole time. It feels pretty fun. I can't remember the name of the game, but it's the one that's only available in, I believe it's China, that has all of the suits 3D rendered, and it plays kind of like the arcade version. That looks really freaking cool. Why did we never get that? But that's kind of what I mean, is when I look at these games, it feels like they made a game and then just decided, well, we're going to make it popular by putting the Gundam IP on it. Which is fine. It's not my type of thing. I like mecha games that are action, exciting, lots of stuff like that. I'll probably still try it. Like, I'll try it, absolutely. Whether I'll enjoy it or not is really up in the air, though. Because as much as it does have the Gundam IP to it, because I'm only interested in very certain time frames of the Gundam franchise, like really interested, if it's just UC, it's going to be a real hit or miss for me. The gameplay is going to have to be spectacular to actually keep me engaged in it. If it was 00, if it was Seed or Destiny, you'd probably find me a little more, invested in, playing it. But UC, it's going to have to do something for me. If the gameplay was like PGR with the Gundam skin on it. Sort of. PGR is very unique. I don't think Gundam would translate very well over to that much action-oriented. Gundam, for example, Gundam Versus, right? That arcade style. I find that works very well with Gundam because you still get the general concept of it, but it's not as slow as Gundam Battle Operation, for example. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Battle Operation. GBO2 is tons of fun. It makes you feel like you're actually piloting a giant, heavy suit, and everything you do has reactions and consequences, and it feels really good. There's so many layers of strategy in that, ranging from how you handle the map, to how you handle your suit, to how you handle engagements based on the suit you're using, and it's great. But personally, I find that it's a little on the slower pace side, primarily because I prefer the more arcadey style of Gundam games. It's a personal preference thing, right? I like the consequences that GBO brings to the table, but I enjoy the more free feeling I get from playing the more arcadey games. But I guess that's also kind of a side effect of what I grew up playing. My first real exposure to a Gundam game was Gundam Battle Assault on the Game Boy Advance, the side fighter. Or it was Gundam Seed Battle Assault specifically, and then Gundam Seed Destiny Battle Assault. Those two games. And then I picked up Alliance vs. Xant 2 Plus because I had so much fun with those titles on the Game Boy. I was like, sure, this looks fun. Man, that was some next level. Man, I played so much of that game. Then my friend had Encounters in Space, which was also super fun. I actually picked up my own copy of it. I have it sitting on the shelf behind me. And from there, it's like, I've always preferred that more Alliance vs. Xant 2 Plus feeling, the arcade, and there's still consequences to what you do, but it's not super overbearing. And I believe I've talked about this before, if not on stream. I know I at least chewed one person's ear off discussing this in the past. You know who you are. But I find that I have a real love for those older games because as much as I respect the new era of online gaming and competitiveness in that field and how convenient it's become for it to be like, I can play with anybody in the world with almost no effort these days, right? Whether it's Halo, whether it's Phasmophobia, whether it's you name a game, it takes no time to play with somebody else. Minecraft, everything, right? So easy. When I was younger and I was playing these games, I always did couch co-op or couch versus with my friends. And when I was talking about respecting balance in online, you don't see the crazy unlockables that you used to. Go look at the character list for Alliance vs. F2 Plus, right? If you go and look at the unlockable list for that, you have like the meteor suits, which were completely imbalanced. You have the Destroy Gundam completely imbalanced. You had the Windom with the nuclear launchers on its back. Really easy to kill, but a complete meme pick, right? All these things. And you'll never see that in modern games because it's not balanced, it's not fair. And I get that. And I respect the whole idea of online and balance. But whenever I look at new games, right, especially Gundam, and I play them, it's just, this is fun. But I always kind of fall back to my memories of playing that game, you know, on the couch with my friend, PS2 controllers plugged in and just having fun, because it wasn't ultra competitive. There were crazy picks, and it just felt so much more of like a party atmosphere than it does now. It feels much more clinical, much more profit oriented with all the DLC and stuff now. So I guess it's just a different mindset. And that's why when I played Gundam Break or Gundam Battle Warfare originally, it really clicked because it felt the same as it did way back on the PS2 for me. The same engine feeling, the same, it just felt good, right? So yeah, anyways, nostalgia rip over. Back to what we were doing. We're looking at Twitter videos. Put that there. Scroll up a little bit. Cool. Cool beans. All right, let's take a look. What's our first suit of the day? We have the Inversion. So the Eagle Stellans, surprising nobody. If only you didn't have D power. Although the animation's really long, so. Alright, so lightning ball animation. It is a dash pseudo cutscene where you dash, you hit, you grab, you push. It is the shining finger. Do I have complaints about it? No. Good stuff. And bisect is bisect, shocking nobody. Alright, so the only real shame for this suit is the Sword EX skill, and obviously the Eagle Stellans. Sad. Alright, next suits are Goof Custom. Big old Goofy. That was a heck of an animation length. What? So this is actually pretty cool. So from what I see here, it's a close range kind of grapple skill. You grab them, you give them a good old dance in the air, and then you bring them down and slam them to the ground. It's quick, it's to the point. Now, yeah, that's the problem, is it has C power to it. It's completely worthless in that regard. If it wasn't for that, it would actually be pretty solid. But due to the fact that it's such a low power rating, it's completely worthless. Anyways, so that's that done. I guess all that's left is looking at alterations. It's the same skill from the regular Goof Custom, yeah. But that's the thing, right? Is it's cool. It has nice usage applications to it. It's just the stats on it are crap. I like how you assume we're getting an alt for it, Spectre. Noble and Shining Altars are the only new ones as far as I know. Bless your soul for telling me. Saves me time of having to ask and wait. Look at you, beating everyone to the punch. Alright. So, I guess we'll start with the Noble, and then we'll pop on over to Senor Shining. Ah, whiskey's good. All right, the Noble Gundam. I want to lean forward a little bit, so let me just bring my microphone in. Let's just adjust the camera down a little bit so you guys can join me in my little huddle bus. All right. So, Noble Gundam, head-mounted Vulcan. Even after alterations, still useless. Oh, right, the alteration disclaimer. So, for everyone that's new, or stop bouncing around, jeez. For everyone that's new or hasn't seen me talk about alterations before, the only thing I care about when I look at these is the EX skill or the trait. Word tags will never change when you alternate a part, and it is safe to assume that the stats will unilaterally increase. We have less than 5 examples in this game where when you alternate, the stats will drastically differ. So I always implore everyone that before you cast any parts into the alteration and, spend your capital, do your research, make sure it actually does come out the way you want it to. Because if it doesn't, a rollback's not really in the cards. But it is safe to assume that the stats will blanket increase. Thus, I only look at the EX skill or trait, as that only is like the only guaranteed change in here that may or may not be for the better. Make a recording of the disclaimer. Anyways, head-mounted Vulcan, not really that great. Let's look at the torso. Berserker system. Raise your speed by 20%, raise your melee attack by 49%, and raise your melee defense by 19%. The melee attack being raised to 49% is actually pretty interesting. That is, remember, the Noble Gundam's in the normal pick ticket pool, right? So you don't have to do any gacha stuff for her. She's not limited or anything. Really easy to EX10. With that in mind, being able to get a melee power buff of 49% is actually kind of crazy, because that's what, the third highest buff? We have 54% and 59% in front of it. Other than that, it's the highest you got. And those two numbers are typically only seen on limiteds and post alterations, with the exception of, what the heck was that suit's name? It's another suit in the 4-star pick ticket pool where the head has an awakening that gives a 54% boost, which was nuts. So, anyways, good numbers. Good numbers. Yeah, the ogre. That was it. Of course, the ogre with the big swing. How could I forget? All right. Burning Finger. B+ power, D pierce. Lower the enemy physical resist by 29. All right. So this turns into kind of a workable skill. B+ power means it should, on paper, hit pretty hard. The physical resist down is nice, but honestly, it's kind of just like a pocket DPS. The legs. Beam Hoop. B+ power, A pierce. Throw a hoop made from beams. So, unless I'm mistaken, this is one of the classic Yeet skills. It just never really saw much action because of its lower distribution. Yeah. So, with it now being A pierce, B+ power, this is a pretty powerful Yeet skill, all things considered. Will ignore a lot of the enemy's resistances and defenses, and will hit relatively hard as well. On it being a low cooldown as well, there's really no downsides to this one, besides you could probably slot in something with A or A+ power if you really looked around. But as this is in the pick ticket pool, you can easily max this out. So, very good increase. Went from D power. Wow, it's a heck of a jump. All right, Beam Ribbon. A pierce, B+ power. And so this is going to be one of the longer cutscene style melee EX skills. I'll have to see the animation for this to determine whether or not it's really like top tier or anything. But there's a lot of really good options for EX skills right now. I don't know if, picking a melee with a long animation or even an animation in general to it's worth it with all the Yeet skills and magazine skills we have available now. So high pierce are really handy. 3v3 or tanky. Yeah. A very powerful increase across the board for the Noble. From what chat's saying, all of her D power skills were boosted up to B+. So it's really good. That's really good. And the Shining Gundam. While mobile fighter, EX skill power boosted by 35%, and while in-fighter projectile speed boosted. The projectile speed boost I think is kind of funny, considering this is a melee suit first and foremost. The mobile fighter is pretty interesting as well, as if you're running a melee suit, you want the mobile fighter tag, and you'll get a 35% EX skill power boost. It's not the highest, as the highest is 40%, but 35% is the second highest, and that is a serious number to see. First trait, not that great. Second trait, it's pretty dope. Super mode. Raise your speed by 20%, melee attack by 39%, melee defense by 19%. Well, as far as, I'm pretty sure this is the pick ticket version of the suit, not the build project version of the suit. Could be mistaken though. Gosh, it's been a long time. Anyways, 39% is not a terrible number to see on a non-build project part. Because the only ones above this are 49%, 54, and 59. So 39% is the fourth highest in the game, and considering we typically only see non-limiteds go up to 49% as max, this falls into the average pool of second best. So it's pretty good. Klim. Why does that sound familiar? Anyways. Super mode has become not quite super, but pretty dang good. Show me the fingies. Shining Finger Sword. S power B pierce. Melee attack boost to 19%, melee defense boost 24%. Honestly, I think for a standard suit, having an S power EX skill is pretty damn good. Like, pretty damn good. So, nice. A rapid thrust. We all know the rapid thrust. It's never been good. Infighter job, 33% chance not to recoil. So that's a 1 in 3 chance of you not flinching when an enemy hits you. And with power attribute, buff EX skill effect up 30%. Do keep in mind, these are flat additions, meaning if a skill gives you 49% buff, it now goes up to 79%, because that's just the way it works. The buff on it never increased. Well, that's fine. The damage itself did. It went from A to an S, did it not, for Shining Finger? And that's pretty much all you should really expect. Yeah, the Shining Finger is pretty interesting. It has an extremely low initial cooldown of 8 seconds compared to its normal cooldown of 79. But it has B Pierce, S Power. It's going to hit like a truck, frankly. And yeah, if you have enough cooldown reduction, this is a very budget damage dealer. Cool beans. Okay. Move my microphone back to where it should be. Cool beans. Move my camera back to where it should be. Cool beans. All right. So, anyways, with that, gang, I think we're done here. I've gone over all the new content, looked at all the new suits, all the alterations. Yeah. The Dengeki Scraper bot. So that's been in testing for a couple of weeks now. It should work exactly as Fiora normally does, where once the content gets posted, she'll re-upload it in image format. I did have it working with her directly posting the images from the Dengeki wiki right into Discord, but I figured that was kind of a scummy move to do. You know, I don't want to be ripping their bandwidth apart. So instead, the bot will download them and use my bandwidth instead to re-upload it to Discord for you guys. So, anyways. Right, the Barbataurus video. Thanks for reminding me. Give me just a moment here while I bring it up. Cool. Now what we're gonna do here, first of all, we're gonna do something just a smidge different than that. I should be able... window capture... Oh, okay, give me a second here. We will just reset that. Perfect. We're on HD. Yes. And unfortunately, I want to avoid a copyright strike of any kind, so I'm going to do this. Sorry, dudes. Alright, let's take a look. What do we have? Yeah, so here's the thing, right? With such a short amount of footage for it, I just don't feel like it's anywhere near ready to be released yet. Right? Like this definitely feels like them building off hype from the anime more than them looking at it and going, "Oh, yeah, this is ready for release." Right? It looks cool. And I'm kind of sad because it doesn't look like the animations are actually unique. Because if you look, the only thing that's different here... So, the way a normal suit walks in this game, right, is the top half of the suit will rotate, on a normal suit anyways, you know, not one of the balls or anything, but on a normal suit, the top half will, you know, do its rotate, and the legs will walk in the direction that they need to. And you can clearly tell, you know, when something looks a little bit on the janky side. I'm looking at the Barbataurus walking, and it looks like it's doing the exact same thing. All they did was they added 2 extra legs onto it, and they just changed the animation to match the walking pace. I thought when they were doing this, they were actually going to have like a unique 4-legged animation for this thing, and make like a different skeleton or something for it. But it looks like all they've done is they just recycled the skeleton for this, the normal suits, and just added a couple extra things, and it's just like a combined animation, which is fine. It's just not what I was looking forward to with this. So sad. I really wanted this to have like a completely like unique thing to it, but it looks cool. But I think I'm gonna wait for the welfare for this one. Given how they were recycled. Yeah, but that's what I mean, right? It's like... I really want them to kind of put more into this, because there's so many suits in this game, they need to do something to differentiate them now. Right? Like, I talked about this in previous streams. I would love to see more varied availability in suits. Don't just make it the bipedals all the time, right? Give us the Bakus, give us the Sky Graspers, you know, give us these things. You know what would be really cool? How about the bosses we keep fighting in multi-mission? Make them obtainable for us. Like, I've talked about this, whether it's in my FGO streams or here. I love it when a boss character becomes playable. It is one of my favorite things to see, and I always love obtaining them because it is just so much enjoyment from playing a boss character. Doubly so if the boss character didn't have the animations changed or didn't eat like some kind of crazy hard nerf. Right? Obviously, you don't want to have the players have access to an actual boss character. That's way too powerful. But I mean, like, don't give them a completely different kit. Don't give them a completely different animation set. Right? So when I look at this game and you have all this untapped potential with the multi-missions and all these bosses and stuff that we don't get to play as, it's like, that's free real estate. Right? Like, if you release those under some kind of special new banner, like at the end of every month or something, that'd be huge. Right? That's one of the reasons I'm currently so in love with Final Gear. Is all the boss characters that are all the major boss characters are obtainable. Granted, they are an arm and a leg to get through the gacha, but they're crazy powerful. They have all the same animations, and they're so cool. And I love it. Fate Grand Order. All the major boss characters other than Goetia have been obtainable and playable. That's crazy cool. So it's just kind of like, I get it. It's super safe and easy to keep recycling the same bipedal skeleton frame over and over and over and over again, and it works, and you can make so many cool suits with it. But like, give us some variety. If you're not going to give us variety in the gameplay, at least give us variety in the gacha, you know? Yeah. We'll have to live with it, unfortunately. It just is what it is, right? So, with that, we'll lock that, kill that. No point continuously playing that now that we're done discussing it. With that out of the way, I think we're going to wrap up here. I have the FGO stream that I'm going to be watching when that goes live. That's going to be in, what, 6.5-ish hours from now, something like that. So I do kind of want to get some sleep under my belt before it drops. Yeah, Tiamat's another one, right? Thing is, though, when it comes to Tiamat and Fate, we know it's done. The data miners from years and years and years ago mined the playable sprite and everything. We know she's in the game. Same with Goetia, right? They're playable. It's just, we don't have access to them. So those are definitely the holy shit things are going tits up. Hit the emergency button, right? So I'm looking forward to see what they do for the rest of this year. I'm looking forward to see what the November event brings. I'm looking forward to seeing what their Christmas plans are, who their New Year's servant is. It's going to be great. This time of year for Fate is really, like, really exciting. Same with Grand Blue, right? I'm super excited to see what they decide to do with their Christmas and their New Year. I can't wait to see what the Zodiac's going to be. That's going to be neat. But, yeah. Anyways, enough rambling. I want to get to bed. I want to be able to wake up for that Fate stream later. So, peace out, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.